the development agent stuff, and start with myself. We've got people here who are on the table, introduce himself, Gary Moore.
Bob Smith, Dwight Knapp, Dave Panero,
Laura Lee,
Terry Hannigan.
Randy Shepherd.
Kirsty Northrup,
Louise Wadsworth.
Holly Downey.
Tessa Taylor, Maureen Wheeler.
Bill Macon. Okay, Bill. Great.
We'll have Randy give us the update with the audit on the IDA. Again, we'll recess that. We'll open the LCDC. We'll have Randy give us the audit on the LCDC. We'll recess that, go to the CRC, and Randy can do whatever Randy wants to do at the CRC. And then we can kind of go back and get to business. But want to welcome Randy Shepherd from Bonadeo. This is our third year with Bonadeo. Quick, easy audit. I think you're only here a couple of days, so happy to have you come in and do your work. We certainly appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. I do want to thank Tessa and Maureen for everything they did for the audit, because they worked very hard and they're usually done some things as well. And also thank Tessa for waiting until today before she went out, because there was a big concern that we got the audit done before she went out. So that was very, very helpful. Yeah, you should have at your table there the packets of all the draft audit materials. They're all very similar in some respects, or some very quickly. Looking at ID first. So the letter that's on top on our letterhead, what that is a recorded communication letter, and it covers, as the name kind of implies, certain recorded communications from us to you as the board of the organization. And what I will say is it's a pretty vanilla letter this year. There wasn't any accounting standards, etc. And so that's kind of what the letter goes through. The first on page 1, it talks about if there were any new accounting standards, which there are any, there were none. Talks about if there's any particular sensitive estimates or disclosures that we want to talk about, and there are none of those in the IDA statements. And then it gets into some other categories on the top of page 2, which I think is important. Difficulties encountered performing the audit. So one thing I always like to point out is, our role is we look for the board to perform an audit. We don't look for management. So if for some reason, we couldn't get things done, or there was a difficulty getting the job done, we want you to know that. But as I kind of started off with it, it's not that way. But I think that's why it's important to kind of note that we didn't have any issues. It does make reference in the next section to some adjustments, and those are attached to the letter in Exhibit A. And what you'll see there is there's a number of adjustments that are recorded. One related to rental income, the other largest one relates to the land additions. So during the year, you're spending monies to kind of improve the property over there in Lebanon. And you're just kind of booking up those expenses that happen. Under accounting standards, those are actually assets for you until you sell those. So it comes off of an expense and goes on as an asset. So the impact of that is it kind of increases or decreases your loss, and increases your income, so to speak. So that was the biggest jump there. And so at the end of the day, we'll kind of walk through why it is, why you're changing that position. There's a decrease in $158,000. Those are adjustments. We don't really have a management letter for the agency because controls are in real good shape. This is probably one area where I would think that you can start really looking at and trying to book some of these adjustments maybe before we come in. We don't mind helping out, but I think this is an area, as you've got more experience, that you can start looking and considering that before we come in and get some work before we start. All right, so then we look at the audit, which is the actual particular document there. It's got draft on that, only because until we have this meeting, until we get the letter from you, we leave that in draft form. The opinion, which is right after the table of contents on the first numbered page, it takes 2 pages for us to say it, but it kind of walks through your responsibility for the audit, our responsibility for the audit, and ultimately it gives you what's called an unmodified or a clean audit. And that's what you're looking for. That's the most important component. And then it goes into a couple other sections called the management discussion and analysis, which is easy to read if you want to go back at some point and look through it. We're going to kind of pass that on to 8. And if you have any questions at all, let me know. I'm kind of buzzing through it. It's got a busy day. Well, page 8 is your balance sheet, and kind of shows comparatively speaking year over year. Cash is down quite a bit for the year. With $380 last year, down to $40,000 this year, and we'll talk about that, the reasons for that on the cash flow statement. And you can see your other non-current assets, so where your land held for development is up about $200,000 or so this year. And then you've got a receivable, payable over to LCDC that just didn't get paid out of year end. And your overall net position of the IDA at the end of year 1.7 million, most of which is in unrestricted. Looking on page 9, which is the income statement, with a bit of a change in expenses, pretty, we have a drop in admin income for the year based on the projects in place, but it's only 10 grand there in total. And the operating expenses themselves are pretty consistent year over year. The biggest jump was you pushed some more money over to LCDC, as you can see in that second line. And then on your non-operating income, really driven by what happens in the sale of property. So as depending on what happens and what kind of money you get for that property sale, you may have a gain or loss there. The past 2 years you've had a loss on the disposal. And so those are the main reasons for the negative change in that position that we had. And so looking at the cash flow on the next page, just to kind of tell you why the cash flow down substantially. A couple of reasons. We didn't have as much money coming in from program activities, so there was a decrease in cash flow from operating in that first category. And then the second piece of it, you've spent over $500,000 the past couple of years developing that property. Those money was cash out the door. So overall, you had a decrease in cash, about $340,000 this year, around about $450,000 over the past couple of years. But that's all planned. And then the rest of the information that's here are the footnotes that gives you a little more detail about what's going on. There's not enough in there to go into, nothing new from last year. So with that being said, if there's any specific questions or anything else you'd like to focus on with respect to RDA, I'd be happy to do so.
No, the investment's been made in the property over there. As everybody here knows, we are 95% done, with the exception of a little extension of sewer line. We're going to recover. The Piranha closing is scheduled for March 13th, which is next Friday. Actually, yesterday I heard it was moved back to the 12th, so we should see an influx of just over $400,000 for that, which is going to turn that frown upside down next year. So, we'd hoped to have that done by year end, but obviously that didn't happen. We didn't have the approval until after.
We will definitely use time to discuss the meeting motion to accept, right? We move on to the supplemental.
No, we definitely would need to do it under separate motions, but if you're ready to accept it, then certainly, if you want to take a motion and go for a vote on that, that's fine. Or you can recess and listen to LCDC. You can do that. Doesn't matter.
What's the choice here?
Recess and keep going.
Okay, we'll recess and we'll go on to the LCDC.
Very good. So, the letter, again, is pretty similar. The only thing I think we'll point out is if you go to the entries, the Exhibit A, and we'll talk through some of the entries that we booked related to LCDC. On that letter, because the rest of the letter is the same. And, you see, again, a number of adjustments, and I'm going to make a same comment. I think as we get used to having some of these grants and this activity, I think we can start looking at that and try to collect these entries. Most of them are grant related. At the year end, they always want to kind of match the revenues and expenditures. So if you have a voucher for certain components of the grant, you want to do that to recognize your revenue, or to the extent that you haven't paid the invoices related to grants, you want to do those payables for that. But the biggest adjustment, really, the biggest negative adjustment was the write-off of the coast loan, which wasn't because it was a bad loan, because it was planned. That was the process of that was it was going to become a grant at the end of that period of time, and so that happened. So that was a non-cash impact, but it also does make it look like you've lost money this year, but it really is a non-cash impact. But that's the impact of those adjustments at year end for you. And so you can look at the details of that in an audit. And as I mentioned with the IDA, the opinion on page 1, this is also an unmodified or clean audit opinion. At the highest level of assurance that we can give, so that's what you're looking to receive. Which is good. When you look at the MD&A, which begins on page 3, those got some nice summary and highlights there. Gives you a good idea of kind of the big things that happen year over year, which is nice. And that's what the rest of the document goes through. Gives some comparison information. But that comparison information is also presented on the primary statements, which we can go to if we look at better on page 7. Again, it's the balance sheet. And one of the things that as I was preparing for this morning that I think I want to just break out classification wise, it doesn't change the numbers. Within that grant receivable line number is the related party piece that's owed from the IDA. So I think I'd like to break that out separately on the balance sheet to show that.
Sure.
When I was looking at it, oh, where is it? Fine. So I want to just add a line there for, grant receivable related party,
Okay.
a little more clear. But everything else is consistent. You can see the drop there in the current portion of loan receivable from 552 down to 293. There's a lot of things going on. You have a 240K forgiveness. You also received 300,000 in payments, but you issued 260 in loans. So a lot of connectivity, but on a net basis, it did go down. And you can see the rest of it, they're pretty comparable year over year. Now, when you look at page 8, which is the revenues and expenses, and the same thing here, when I talk about kind of breaking out detail, within that grant income economic development line is the support from the IDA. And because we break out the Livingston County piece, I think I'd like to break out the IDA piece as well on that. So we'll just pull that out of there. So the totals don't change, in terms of total revenue, but you'll see the breakdown of that there. But grants overall went down substantially from last year. But at the same time, the expenses went down as well. So it's not like we lost all the revenue we went to the bad spot. It meant that way because the grant expenses and grant revenues. And we had the gain income for Danville Brewing last year that was in there as revenue this year did not repeat. And again, you look down the line on expenses, the biggest change really is in the grant expense side of it because of the CDBG limits. And then your operating loss there of 135,000, which Bill talked to a couple times, like that looks bad. Help me understand that. It really is just because of that forgiveness. That forgiveness of a loan shows as an expense at $260,000. You can see that really is the reason why you went from 106 positive to 136 negative. So nothing to be concerned about there. It's really part of the operations. And then when you look at the cash flow on page 9, that's really where you can see that. The cash flow from operating activities. Actually, this year was a positive. Last year, cash flow from operations was actually negative. From a cash flow perspective, it kind of looked quote unquote worse last year, but that's what you were planning to do. So overall, your cash, change is about 30 grand for the year, based on those pieces up above. Okay. And then when we look at the notes, I think probably the most important, thing for this board to kind of look at or pay attention to is on page 14. 14 and 15 is a lot of good information relative to the loans receivable. What is all the details of the loans? What are the terms? What are the balances? So, if you wanted to get a good quick snapshot, that's a good way to do that. And then when you look on page 15, you can see how that money is expected to come into the organization over a period of time, either come in or if it's part of the forgiveness program. And then format-wise, what I'm going to do right now, that repayment table is kind of split between 2 pages.
Yeah.
I'm going to rearrange it so that little section at the top of page 15, I'm going to move to page 16 so that payoff can be on the same page. So then just formatting stuff for you. But again, I think that's good to note. Good to see where you are, kind of where that money's coming in for the organization. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple of comments. We've got a new group. So back in 2009, when Coast came into town, there was an arrangement that was made with some CDBG funding where essentially there was a $240,000 loan that was made. It was called a loan, a deferred loan, that if Coast did not meet its obligations, that it would be collected. It would be basically turned out and collected as a loan. Coast met its obligations under the terms of the agreement. It's forgivable after 10 years. That's what we didn't write off Coast. We actually were under an agreement that if they met the conditions of hiring, that it was forgivable. So we essentially had to make that adjustment this year. The gain income. Strangely enough, gain isn't part of our loan fund. So last year, when we closed on a loan, we pulled $50,000 in income. That's funding that we get to keep at the end of the day that wasn't ours in the beginning. So that's why it's being booked as income. We will have another $39,000 coming in this year. So you'll see it again in 2020. additional game loans in 19. I think that's it. Any questions on this? LCDC moves a lot of money. The swings in the grants, they never line up to the calendar year. I wish they did. This would look a whole lot cleaner so we know what's in, what's out, and how it could align, but it just doesn't do that. It crosses over the fiscal year every year, it seems. So, and the big drop in grants from last year to this year was a $506,000 grant that we had for Western New York cheese. That was one big one that we continued the grant activity, kind of in the same vein. We just have one big swing. That was a huge grant for us.
We had probably half a dozen homes, according to my knowledge.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
Okay, we defer this and go on to the Livingston County Capital Resource Corporation.
Randy, any comments?
The only comment I will make is, this has been a bit of my existence as Bill as well. I mean, when this first came up on the authority budget office requirements came into play, I reached out to them. I said, "Are you absolutely serious that they have to do an audit for zero activity energy?" And they're like, "Yes, they do." I'm going to reach back out to them again because we see different clients, we see different situations, and I've seen another similar entity that has zero activity that they're getting away with just doing a letter that says there's nothing there. So I'm going to revisit that and try to get them to, forget needing an audit from you guys and just do some kind of letter that says, hey, there's no activity and therefore it is what it is. So, but we have to do this then too. I'm interested right now that shows all zeros. Basically, the only thing that's in there is the outstanding bond value that changes every year. So that's kind of how it works. But nothing really going on with CCRC.
I assume no questions on that. Any questions for Randy on either IDA or LCDC audits? I certainly appreciate the time that you folks put in. Erica is wonderful to work with. I forget the other gal's name. I apologize. But they were absolutely wonderful. They went down and did their work. And they were just very courteous and whatever. So hoping the feeling for them was mutual.
Yeah, that's why we want to make sure test is through.
We definitely did. Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Certainly excused. If you've got enough time to discuss or any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I know Perry wants to stay with us, so we wouldn't be.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
He's been here since the start of this.
Record time there.
Here, he asked me this morning, how long do I have to stay? Talk about showing your hand, Gary.
Well, he really has been here the longest with anybody. Started.
Okay. So I guess if you want to go back to IDA, we can take an approval on the audit so we can get it all put into Paris. We will be reviewing Paris for us at the end of the month. And then we will be hitting the submit button after we approve the Paris recording on the 27th. I think is
Okay, so we need a motion to accept the financial audit for the Livingston County Development Corporation. Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, then we'll go to the, you got anything on policy review?
I do. I don't have any recommended changes, actually. We just have to re-adopt them. So you've got 4 policies here under those bullets. And we do break this out again, kind of forget once in a while that there's some new members. So the Audit and Finance Committee and the Governance Committee, some IDAs break them apart and they meet separately in separate rooms and they come back and do whatever. We do this as a committee as a whole, so everybody sits in the same room for both committees. I don't think we have a big enough group here to be able to separate it out. We just have 2 or 3 people in one meeting. But so we do this as a committee as a whole, which is fine. So compensation, reimbursement, attendance, investment deposit, procurement policy, and property disposition policy. A lot of this is governed under the county, simply because the IDA does not have any employees. So for all of these, compensation, reimbursement, attendance, those rates are all set by the county policy that we work under, that Maureen, Tessa, and myself work under, and we use, of course, as an employee of the LCDC, so that makes a little bit of a difference when we get to that. We don't have any changes to that this year. We just need to re-adopt it. So essentially, again, compensation, the rates are set. Investment and deposit policy, avoiding laundering, we try and maintain safety and collateral with all of our deposits. We're required to actually. Protection of principal is paramount. Procurement, competitive bidding where necessary, when necessary, and the disposition, we have a procedure in place which we go through every time we dispose of property. It's the only assets we have for the idea. So looking to reaffirm these and with no recommended changes.
I'd entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hopefully you all got one of these. And these are all in here when you became members. So
Great read. Is it?
I think I did give you those, but if you don't have them, I,
we can make another copy for you.
and they're all on the website. Yes.
All right, so the assessment and effectiveness of internal controls, that is in front of you. I believe on a handout. Didn't you do that, Tessa?
Yeah.
Great. So what this does is essentially it tells you a little bit about the internal controls that Randy mentioned. They do take a cursory overview of these and how we kind of manage the process in the office, and they do it to the policies and standards. We don't have any recommended changes for any of those internal controls. We think they're working fairly well. We do have some thoughts maybe that we might bring to you later, but at this point in time, we don't need to make any changes. We don't see anything that's glaring. So we ask for a readoption of this.
I'd entertain that motion.
Move to read it out.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Great. So this would be typically things that happen under the governance committee, but again, kind of keeping this as a committee of the whole, we've got a policy review. Again, no recommended changes. Everything that we have in place, we are recommending to be maintained. We just need to reaffirm. I'll point out a couple of those. The ones that we certainly use the most often are the fee policy and the uniform tax exemption policy. That essentially tells us what type of projects we can participate in and what sort of a fee schedule or the structure would be surrounding that. A few years back, we did bump our fee just a little bit to kind of get in line with things. That's already adopted. We asked to reaffirm that today. We've talked about this in the past with some of the solar requests, to take variance or a deviation from that fee policy. We've stuck to it, so we really don't do that. We have the ability to, but we have not. The rest of it, quite frankly and candidly, falls under a lot of the county purview. Just because it's in the news lately, the whistleblower policy, to kind of let you guys know what that is that if anybody on the board or any staff has any concerns, they can either come to me or Gary or another member of the board. There's a window there where the situation can be remedied within, I think, 5 days. After that, the whistleblower, the individual with the complaint, can actually take that outside and go up the ladder with it, so to speak, to the ADO or whatever may be necessary. So, there's a policy in place for that. It's in your book. So we're just asking you to reaffirm all of these as well.
Take that motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
The self-evaluation of the prior year performance. This is called the Operations and Accomplishments Report.
Everyone has that,
That's
yeah.
telling you great. So what you'll see from last year for the IDA, we do one of these for both organizations. What we've got on here, it's kind of important to understand that the timeframes of these projects do take a lot of time, unfortunately. UET, we started working with in January last year. They closed in September, early October of this year. So there is a long window of these companies and getting them where they need to be. So UET is closed. Brown is obviously pending. I'll have an update on them in just a minute, as is Noise Mental Health. So as a result of those three projects, what will be provided is about just shy of $3 million in investment, 17 new jobs, 28 kept. The cost to the state and region, which is what we run this through an economic development model. So the cost to the state and region in terms of our benefits is $550,000. The benefit to the state and region is over almost $19 million based on payroll, investment, property taxes, a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that number. So the net benefit, of course, is about $18.5 million or 33 to 1. Typically, when you get to a large scale project where there's heavy incentives, they look for at least 5 to 1. So 33 to 1 well exceeds what we're trying to do. Essentially means we're not getting away with slow. I put the 2019 goals. These were what we looked at last year in terms of what do we want to see accomplished for 2019. Some we did better on than others, but in essence, I went down through here and kind of took a look at them again. James Steele Industrial Park, assess and identify the remaining infrastructure needs. We, as I mentioned earlier, we're 95% of the way through that. Closing on the sale of 2 additional parcels. We got 1, but we've got 2 that are pending now, so we'll actually close on 3 for the work that we started in 19. Hopefully soon to be more. Gateway Agribusiness Park, this was kind of a work in progress. We did get Empire State Development. We got some leeway in the funding that they awarded us a couple of years ago with what we want to do. The hard part is that there's still a lot of moving parts and concerns about not owning the land and what the owner of the land wants per acre. So essentially, I'm not really ready to do a whole lot more there until we can kind of get them down a little bit. We did attempt to seek additional funding sources through the federal build program. They would have helped us do some planning and design expense, but unfortunately we were unsuccessful. Last September, we did not get it. So we'd like to kind of continue to do that too. The Dansville Industrial Park, identify areas for improvement. Dansville has been quiet in terms of the industrial park. However, I am working with Larry Melbacher, who has a 27 or 28,000 square foot general purpose building that is essentially laying on the ground. It's brand new, it's just in pieces. Talked to Larry about potentially putting that up in the park and working out a deal where maybe we get a land lease and he could have, the rental income. Hard part about that is Larry's got about 20,000 square feet just up the street from that he's still trying to rent as well. So he's not extremely motivated to do that at this point in time. We've got probably more space in Dansville than we do in any other area of the county. So I've got something that I'm gonna put in front of you for the Dansville Industrial Park just a few minutes from now. Business attraction and retention, new capital investment of $10 million. We didn't get there. We will, but we did not get there this year. I think we've got some huge projects that are on the horizon that are going to well exceed that number. 72 existing businesses. Yeah, we knocked that number out of the park. 6 per month is very easy to do, quite frankly. Provide response to Greater Rochester Enterprise. We are working very, very closely with them. And then the workforce development stuff. We had Grow Works with Your Hands that we did some funding for. We didn't partner as much as workforce development did, but we were involved in that a little bit. And then we've also funded their job fairs, which has been successful for us. So in a nutshell, I guess I kind of summarized what was on the accomplishments, but let's see if I just didn't miss anything. Utility scale solar has been coming fast and furious, as I mentioned before. 3 large projects, the town of York and Leicester. Dave knows very well, the town of Mount Morris, and also the town of Caledonia. And then 3 relocating of 3 expanding businesses. Matthews Buses, if you haven't stopped in the East Avon Plaza in East Avon, you'll see that they are, if they're not in there, they're getting very, very close because they finished what they needed to do. So I think they'll be moving very soon. We did find them a tenant in that plaza as well. That's the Sports Medicine Concepts. They're building out about 10,000 square feet. And Monday Mustard, believe it or not, that's been on my list. Since I got here, I was told we got to get Monday Mustard back to Monday. So we were able to do that. They're in the Old Hills restaurant on Monday. And that's it for the operations and accomplishments report.
Are there any other thoughts or questions for Bill on that? Covered a lot of ground there, a lot of jobs. Remember, this is all about jobs and business.
And you're going to see some more of that. I've got sort of a 2020 update, if you will, which really kind of comes with the next report. So if you're good with this one, and you have any questions on last year, I'm happy to answer.
I entertain the motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Okay. So the next one up is the mission statement and the measurements report. So this essentially takes a look at 2020 and says, what do we want to accomplish? So more site development. I really would love to finish out that sewer line at James Steele Park and Avon to get that done, get those 3 parcels sold, get everything on the books, and get that moving. Gateway, we do have some interesting activity that we think could kind of move the needle a little bit in Gateway. So the highway department for the county has some federal dollars to do Bronson Hill Road. We've met with them. We stressed the importance of folks along that road that want water and sewer connections. That would actually help us with a build out coming in from the Purdue end of Gateway and coming into the park. So there's a possibility that that water source, once it does come on Bronson Hill, would actually be able to get us to have something to hold on to at Gateway and bring that in.
So was the money involved with the road, also involved with sewer and water?
No, it was just involved with the road, but water and sewer authorities had on their agenda for a while to get water, as is Livonia. Eric wants it up there, the folks on Bronson Hill want it up there, so we've got it on radar. And we're kind of hoping to take it.
That part of that conversation we had a couple, 3 years ago, that the grain hub, and part of that. What about that, when I talked, maybe it's not out yet, but,
Yeah, it's,
nutrient,
Nutrient actually did not go, they didn't Gateway, no, they took space in Dansville at the LMC plant. Providence or Pinnacle Ag, I kind of heard them under both names, moved out of there, they found a turnkey building, they moved into there. So it did not materialize. But the grain elevator that's there right now, Purdue, with bulk development, Les and Matt Colon, right now, they don't have any water, they're operating off of the connection to Les as well, and they would like water. As would the residents from
so, I
Stone
was
Hill.
gonna say the residents, I'm sure.
Well, that was always, so I thought through the sewer and water is to connect with that. And you could run off to South Lyman.
Yeah, go right up.
In the big picture,
Mhm.
that map, did you get on the sewer and water authority? I know they got an opening there.
What's the distance though from the Avon line?
To
To
say Stone
connect
Hill or
back,
to
yeah.
Gateway, it's quite a ways.
Yeah.
The immediate loop would be to come up Stone, across Bronson, if you know where I am, and
Yeah.
down South Line.
Mm.
And then they could hook in right there for Fratelli's or just north, they're actually almost to the railroad.
Yeah, I think they pushed on the railroad.
There's a development, I can't think it is on the other side of the
On the
tracks.
southeast side, yeah.
So they have water, they don't have sewer. This would kind of feed that,
And-
basically Livonia at this point in time. I think the grander plan Gary's mentioning would take it all the way up South Line, I'm sorry, all the way up Bronson to
Bronson,
5
too.
and 20.
Okay.
That is,
Yeah, that's why I was asking about
Forward.
distance, like, okay.
this would be an immediate water and sewer authority need.
Okay.
So we're working through that with Michelle to kind of try and figure out how we can put that together. We also, we met with Sweeteners, I met with Sweeteners about a month ago. There could be some needs there in the very, very near future, which are going to involve more about both water and sewer. There are some changes that we can make on 15 that would probably satisfy the water needs, but not the sewer needs. So, kind of bringing that down through the park would obviously do a lot of benefit for everybody involved there. So we're looking at that as a good picture too. Back to the Dansville Industrial Park. I'm going to cover that in just a second. And the business attraction, just keep getting out there. The hard part is that when you get out there and you talk to people, you bring back stuff to do. So, everybody seems to have a need when you get in front of them. So that's a good thing. Just put a lot on the plate there. More opportunities for public-private partnerships and trying to make an impact for the businesses and residents of the communities that we serve. Continue to respond to GRE requests. As I mentioned earlier, we are still staying very close with GRE. And then the workforce development I left on there because it still is, it's number one when site selection. Tessa, can you open that PowerPoint in there?
So what role, if any, are we playing in the broadband?
You always jump. Yeah.
I don't see it on here. We got it on 4 months ago.